This event and this activity has become a part of who we are. I think what really makes us function and function well as a group is we all believe in the same thing, and we're all pretty much on the same page moving forward. But more importantly, we allow room for things to happen the way they do. And you have a term for that. What do you always say? It's in what kind of order?
Divine.
It's in divine order.
The whole notion of transgenerational trauma is that the trauma started with us, and for those of you who've been to Ghana in West Africa, you've been to the slave castles. First trauma was our separation from our families and being hoarded in those places where we were kept until the ships came from the Americas and be loaded on those ships, and then the transatlantic journey, then getting to the seasoning islands, where we were really broken of our spirit, of our language, of our culture, of everything who we were. But to have our mind taken away from us and have it replaced with the mind of our slave master. So the real trauma was us dealing with the psychological schizophrenia of hating who we were. And that drives your behavior, because if I don't love me, I don't care enough about me, I won't care about what I put into my body, I won't care about the things that I need to do.
Sunlight is important to this. I mean, if you don't have sunlight, then you're not gonna make it. Also, if you have dark skin, you're at issue, because dark skin blocks that sunlight from entering into the skin to convert that into vitamin D. And so I don't think vitamin D is one of those really complex super hormones in a sense, because it could actually account for much of the disparities that we see, from cardiovascular disease to cancer. Vitamin D is like the major player. We've been studying it at Stroger, and with black men and white men and Hispanics. And the numbers that I see are horrific. Black men, I mean, just do not have enough. They're insufficient or deficient. You know, 80% insufficient, probably about 50 or 60% deficient.
I was just sitting here thinking about the insults of the environment and the insult of lack of vitamin D, and I thought about, what about the insult of lack of jobs? You know, lack of safe place to live. What kind of insult is that happening? I mean, what's happening to us physiologically when that happens? And so I'm saying, on top of dealing with that, we got to deal with Boo Boo, Ray Ray, and then we got to deal with not having enough opportunities to take care of our families, and the stress, the whole educational disparities. And so when you add all that up, man, you know, that could easily explain a 12 to 10 year life expectancy gap. And I think we've got to somehow or another figure out a way to create a healthier environment.
We have to be careful when we give single things out to people, like the silver bullet, vitamin D or whatever it is. It's like going to the gym and you've got a room full of equipment and saying that all you need to do is pull downs. You know, I mean, really, you know, and that's a single plane movement. But if you did that and just went to the gym all the time, you might build some traps, and you might build, but your legs nothing gonna happen with your legs, ain't nothing gonna happen with your chest, it's not gonna happen. And that's what we have, and that's the message. Our solution is not a one-off. It is a combination of things that includes, and that's why we at the Pelham means rebuilding the soul.
How do you think a group like ours, working with what you're doing at the University of Illinois, can have an impact on some of these things moving forward?
Well, I think by working together, by doing some collaborative work. I think we need to really think about how we can get into the community and capture the minds of the brothers so that they can come up with new ways of coping.
It's important to educate the educational system that every black male that acts aggressive doesn't have ADD or belong to ADDH class or some remedial class, because typically the first reaction in the educational system is put them in an ADD class, put them in a remedial class, because the black male is acting aggressive. When if you test them, you find out they test higher than everybody else at the younger ages.
My mother was very simple. In the wintertime when it was cold outside, you had to have hot food. In the summertime when it was hot outside, you could have cold cereal. That's all you needed, that and a boiled egg, and you was out to work. I mean, really. You know, our kids are coming to school with Flamin' Hots and Coke, and we wondering why they got blood pressure problems and why they got this, and then they're not sleeping. You know, people.
Not required to do no exercise in school.
No, and so we want to blame the school.
We want to pass the president's fitness test. You couldn't move on to the next grade.
That's right. Well, you know, we have a homeland security issue now, because it was quoted by one of the CMOs for Blue Cross and Blue Shield that somewhere upwards of 50% of our current teenagers can't pass the Armed Services Physical Entrance Exam.
Children born after the year 2000, at the rate of the epidemic of obesity, will not live as long as their parents. For the first time in the history of the United States of America, children will not be expected to live as long as their parents.
I mean, I think the common theme is we had family structure that helped to mitigate that stress, to say, look, I know what you're going through. It's tough, but you're going to get through it or whatever. And I don't know who that was. Maybe that's mom and dad. Maybe that's grandma. Maybe that's grandma and grandma, or whoever it was. We had that. But these kids now don't have that same family structure. And so now there's nobody to help say, well, how do I deal with this?
You know, we have to be a little honest, though. It's a little disingenuous to say that sex, alcohol, smoking, and fighting weren't part of my coping mechanism as well. So, I mean, honestly, just, you know, so I can't say that, you know, I had a good family structure, I had a good mom, I had a great set of grandparents, I had good friends that were around me, but that doesn't mean that at some degree these other, you know, expressions didn't take place. So, but they didn't cripple me.
Getting back towards the solutions and talking about some potential interventions, that's one of the things that we do at Project Brotherhood, is to provide a space where it's a stress-free environment for men, you know, trying to use that barbershop model to create a space where everyone, you know, can feel comfortable, to know that you can come here, to come as you are, you know, and for those that don't have that family support, you know, we provide that there.
In reference to Project Brotherhood, yes, we have a model that's comprehensive. It sort of addresses all of those issues: spiritual, economic. It addresses the physical, it addresses the mental. And so I think we got to look holistically at addressing all the issues that affect black men.
Classic example of that is and Joe probably heard this before, my story about Johnny. Got Johnny as a patient when he was about 15 to 14. Kidney, he was a big kid, so I don't take care of kids, but he was big. And we got him early, so I, get the blood pressure, everything controlled to keep his kidneys from worsening. His mother just wanted to see him graduate from high school. We worked hard with Johnny, got his blood pressure controlled. It's hard to take care of teenagers, you guys know that. So we got him to graduate from high school, so we sort of, we made it this far. Now we want to get Johnny into a college and this, that, and the other. And we're working with the mothers happy. We get Johnny a transplant, all right? Johnny gets his transplant, so now he can go to college. Nurse comes to me and says, Dr. Crawford, Johnny got brand new clothes on. Real fine, expensive clothes. Next time, a couple of months later, he come back. Dr. Crawford, 6 months, he got a brand new car. He's about 19-year-old kid, I'm saying, well, here we got him through the kidney failure, got him off dialysis, got him a transplant. We did all these physical things to his science, to his medical stuff. 1 year later, Johnny's in Gatlin's having a funeral. Johnny was selling drugs. And I told the nurses, I said, we missed it. We missed it. We were so busy dealing with his physical, kidney, blood pressure, his anemia, all that science. And we missed the opportunity to work with Johnny's soul. And I never will forget that in my life.
Though we are stressed now, we ain't stressed like our grandparents were stressed. The institutionalization of the way that we dealt with stress has also fallen apart, okay? Because even though we were dealing with slavery and we had to deal with, our slave masters raping our mothers and our sisters and pulling our families apart, and then moving up that chain in terms of what happened since that time, one of the places that provided, and I want to say this negatively, but some sort of anesthesia was our church. Our church provided us with a sort of spiritual anesthesia, provided us with that safe place, provided us with a way to tap a force higher than ourselves to be able to displace that.
Church has always been an important part of the black community. It's been a part of our systemic support.
That spiritual piece, that God presence is that's the one X factor that can not only change the environment, but change your response to the environment so that I don't feel hopeless and so you don't get hopeless actions. So I'm saying God can change your environment, but he can change, even when your environment doesn't change, he'll change your response to that.
Until we solidify who we are and what we do and what we value, we will continue to have these little fragmented pockets. You know, even our young people, when they see us, expect us to leave. They're surprised to see that we are parking next to them. They're surprised to see that we walk in the same neighborhoods that they walk in. Because in their minds, they're saying there's something about them that they can't wait to get away from. So we need this.
One thing that's really exciting about us as an organization and what we do, that as you look around and you see the people that are here, if we walked out of this building, we would be the same as everybody else just walking through the neighborhood. So we would also be subject to the same kinds of things. And are. Part of that is what makes us attracted to the people that come, because they see us and they hear us speak from the standpoint of what our education and our training, our expertise has allowed us to do. But we don't look any different than everybody else that's coming out here today. But I think that's the exciting thing about the Pella and one of the things that we bring.